Video, I want to cover what kind of property should you do for your first investment property? Should it be a rental property? Should it be a short-term rental like Airbnb, a long-term rental like a 1-year lease? Should it be a wholesale deal? Should it be a flip? Should it be land? A lot of people out there want to become real estate investors, and unfortunately, figuring out where to get started is one of the hardest parts. So I want to make this video just to give you my take on this. Maybe you agree with this, maybe you don't agree. So let's just go through those categories. Let's start with land. Is land a good place to get started? Well, I would say yes and no. Land is a somewhat safe investment, right? You put money into some land, you let it sit there. Maybe the trees grow, and at a certain period of time you can pay a timber company to come in and cut the timber off of it. Maybe you buy land where you think a development could possibly be, and you hang on to it until a commercial developer comes in and wants to put a retail center there or a gas station or something like that. But the thing that I don't like about land is that while you're sitting there waiting to sell it for a profit one day, you're not creating any income for yourself. And it is speculation. You are buying it today, speculating that it's going to be worth more in the future, and that is the most dangerous form of investing out there. Now, there are people in our town in Tuscaloosa who crush it with that. Okay, Stan Pate, if you're not familiar with that name, that guy owns almost every major intersection in Tuscaloosa County and in other parts of the state as well. And he's okay with holding on to properties sometimes 20, 30 years until somebody's ready to do something with it. For you as a new investor, I don't think land should be something you consider, because you need, like right now, money. You need to win quick, and you need a guaranteed win. Okay? So I would not personally do land unless you're going to flip land, which is a whole other discussion. I think that's somewhat tricky as well. There's people out there who own parcels of land who don't live in the state. They inherited this land, or it was given to them, and they don't have any plans of doing anything with it. There are people out there that buy parcels of land right like that, and then they turn around and they list those on the market. But again, you might be biting off more than you can chew. It's not always a guaranteed win with flipping land. But there's a guy that I know that I met this past year at a investor mastermind. He's going to make over $800,000 a year by flipping land. He buys vacant parcels of land and he flips them. He buys them for a couple $1,000s, and he turns around and flips them and makes just a couple $1,000s profit every time he does that, times a bunch of transactions. But that's a full-time job for him. I don't know that you could really have much success with doing that full time. But if I was going to do land, I would do that strategy. I would not buy it and hold on to it long term, hoping it's going to go up in value. People will say, well, they're not making any more of it. But yeah, but you're not cash flowing on it, right? And if you can't make money this year from it, don't buy it. That's my take on it. So land, I'd say probably no. I think flipping land and doing a bunch of transactions is something that's somewhat advanced, okay? So second off would be rental properties. Let's start with traditional rentals first, long-term rentals, 12 months or more. Let's say you go out, and as a new investor, you go out and you find a rental property, you do your research, and you get a property, and your mortgage payment is $1,200 a month, and you can rent it for $1,650 a month, which I would say, number one, kudos to you for finding a deal like that. Those kind of deals are getting harder to find. The numbers are getting tighter with interest rates being where they are. But you get a 15-year, a 20-year, or a 30-year mortgage. Your mortgage payment is $1,200 a month. You're renting it out for $1,650. So after everything's paid for, let's say that you make $450 per month in cash flow. All right, kudos to you for doing that. But what happens if the tenant stops paying? Who's paying the mortgage payment then? You are, right? Can you hire an attorney and get them kicked out and get a new tenant in there? Yeah, you can. But during that time frame of taking them to court, serving them a notice, having the trial, setting a date for them to be moved out, going back in there and fixing that property up, cleaning it up, getting it back on the market, getting somebody new in on there, you, as a newbie investor, are having to figure out how to pay that mortgage payment in the meantime. Okay? So, I learned the hard way doing it that way, right? I got a couple little rental properties when I first got going. I was like, this is awesome. I had 3 rental properties. I had mortgages on all 3 of them. And when all 3 people were paying and paying on time, I thought I'd made it. It's like, this is awesome. And then all of a sudden, one of them moves out. One of them had the air conditioner tear up. Okay. Go spend $6,000, $8,000, $10,000 on replacing an HVAC unit. That $450 per month that you're making per month, now you're in the hole for probably 2 or 3 years, right? You're bringing in $450 a month, but you've lost money because you had a big repair. You've lost money because you had to pay the mortgage payments because your tenant decided to stop paying, okay? And on top of you paying the mortgage payments, you're also going to pay the attorney, probably $800 to $1,200 to evict that person. And yeah, you got to keep their security deposit, but that money that you had sitting in the bank, you're probably putting it towards the mortgage payments, and you're probably putting it towards fixing it up and hoping you get a better tenant the next go around. So for that reason, I would not start off with traditional long-term rentals as your first properties, okay? There's just too much that can go wrong. All right, I could show you case study after case study after case study. If you get a tenant that pays on time every month, you're in the minority. Okay? What about short-term rental, Airbnb, VRBO? Well, for your first property, maybe that's a good route to go. You can make more money on a short-term rental than you can a long-term rental. You're going to collect more money, but you're also going to have more expenses, right? While that house is sitting there vacant and not getting rented for a whole month, you're paying the mortgage, you're paying the utilities, you're paying the internet, right? You're paying the insurance. And, over the long haul, I would rather have a short-term rental than a long-term rental. If I'm only going to have, if I'm only going to have a couple of them, I would rather have a short-term rental. Okay, if I'm just going to have 1 or 2, maybe 3, that might be a way to go. But what happens if we have, like we had with COVID, and there were travel restrictions? What if, we live in a college town? What if college football didn't happen for some reason? Or, an even more likely scenario, what if your local city government puts laws and restrictions in place to limit how many days you can rent? In Tuscaloosa City, you can only do short-term rentals for 45 days of the 365-day calendar year. Right now in Northport, Alabama, where I live, there's no limit at all. 365 days a year until they decide to change the laws. Right? So if you go into it thinking, I'm going to crush it, I'm going to rent it out for all these college football home game weekends, I'm going to rent it out for graduation weekend in December and in May and in August when the University of Alabama and when Stillman and when Shelton State Community College have their graduations. I'm going to crush it with that. I'm going to have parents coming in. I'm going to have people coming in to visit, people coming in for interviews, people coming in to see their kids. Easter weekend is a popular short-term rental weekend. I would say that's better than a long-term rental. But again, you're going to have vacancy. There's going to be times of the year where you have no money coming in. And you, as a newbie trying to get started, now you may have to be taking money out of your savings account, money from your full-time job just to cover the expenses of that thing. And instead of it creating income for you, now it's costing you money. So I would not start that way. Some people in this group have mentioned moving out of your current residence, turning that into a rental property. But again, once again, even if you bought it at a ridiculously low price, right? I bought my house in 2017. I would never be able to buy my house for what I paid for it again, ever. I mean, hopefully the economy never gets that bad. I could move out of my house and I could probably cash flow maybe even $1,000 or more per month because I locked it in at a 2.25% interest rate on a 30-year mortgage when rates were really, really low. But again, what if somebody moves into my house and they destroy it? What if they move in and they don't pay the rent? And in the meantime of me getting them evicted, I'm having to pay the mortgage. Okay? As a newbie investor, you need to win. Don't try to go for the get rich quick. Go for the get rich guaranteed. You need to win, and you need to win early. So what I would do as a newbie investor, two options that I would look at doing. Number one, if you can wholesale a property, right? You go and find a property, you find a smoking hot deal, you get it under contract for $50,000, and then you try to sell that contract to me for $65,000. I pay you $15,000. I pay the original, the owner $50,000. So you and the seller agree to $50,000. Then you offer it to me, and I can go in as a flipper, and I can pay $65,000 for the property, and I can still renovate it. I can still put it on the market, and I can still make money. You just made $15,000 without having to spend any money. Okay? That's a very, very safe way of doing it. Guaranteed money, right? If you can get $5,000 or more guaranteed, take it and move on to the next property. What if you did 4 of those kind of deals in 2025 and you only made $5,000? That's low. The average wholesale assignment fee is around $16,000. Let's just say $12,000 on the low end. If you did 4 of those at $12,000 each in 2025, that's $48,000 of income that you now have. And you don't have a mortgage. You're not having to pay repairs. You're not having to pay an attorney to evict somebody. That's $48,000 in your pocket over the next 12 months from doing 4 wholesale deals. Guaranteed. Okay? That's one place I would look at starting. The second place I would look at, some people have said, hey, this is risky. I would agree. But doing the flip yourself. If you get it under contract for $50,000, you go out and you flip the property. You resell it, and maybe instead of making $12,000 profit, $15,000 profit from wholesaling it, what if you could make $30,000, $40,000, or $50,000 by you doing the renovation yourself, okay? Now, the problem with that is most people who flip a house barely break even or they lose money on their first flip, right? You're having to make decisions about things that you never knew you were going to have to make decisions on. Right? What paint colors to use, what flooring to put in, what kind of knobs to put on the kitchen cabinets, what kind of appliances to go with, what kind of mulch, what kind of shrubs to put up front, what kind of vanity to put in the property, what kind of fans. All these decisions that have to be made. If you've never made those before, you could end up overpaying, and you thought you're going to make $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, but you might end up only making $3,000. And you just risked 4 to 6 months of your life going to the property, checking it out, making all these decisions. Okay, it can be tough for a new person. So another alternative would be, instead of assigning the contract over and walking away from it, instead of going into it by yourself, what if you brought that property to somebody like me and we flipped it together as partners? I do that with people all the time. What if you got 20 to 30% of the profit? Okay, I put my money up. I go renovate the house. I sell the house. I know what I'm doing. I've done it over and over and over. I flipped 16 houses in 2024. Okay. Um, what if I went out and I used my money and my time and my resources, and we make 30, 40, $50,000, and you keep 20 to 30% of that, and you learned about how to flip a house now, and you got to keep 20 to 30% of that profit without having any of your money on the line, right? But I'm telling you, if you can sell that contract to a flipper and you can make $5,000 or more, take that and run, right? Because if you bring me in on the deal, you bring somebody else in on the deal, how long is it going to be before you get paid? What if it takes me 3-4 months to renovate the property and 3 or 4 more months to sell the property? You're not seeing any profit from that deal for 6 to 8 months. If there's any profit, what if there's no profit? What if we opened up walls and we did demolition and we found out there was a lot more that needed to go into this property, and we thought we were going to make $30,000, we end up making 10, and you're getting 20% of that, versus you could have assigned that contract over to somebody and made some quick money. So I'll give you an executive summary. You need to win quick. You need to win guaranteed. You need to get some money in your pocket. And what I teach people to do, okay, I've got an entire online course where I teach people how to go out and find these properties, how to get them under contract for the right prices, what formulas to use. And if you want to flip them yourself, I have training in there for that. But the bigger thing is, once you've done a couple of these flips, whether you wholesale it to somebody, whether you flip the property, what do you do with that money? What if you make $30,000? What if you made $48,000 on 4 deals, like I talked about earlier, in 2025? What do you do with that money? Well, here's the best part. Instead of just being a flipper for years and years and years, a lot of people become flippers and they never get out of being a flipper. They can't ever figure out how to get out of. They just flip, 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 and they take that money and they put it in their pockets and they upgrade their vehicle, they pay off their student loans, but they never create long-term wealth for themselves. What I teach people to do, I've got people all over the country that are in this training program. What I teach people to do is we flip properties and we wholesale properties, and we use those flips and we use those wholesale assignment fees that we're collecting. We take that profit, whether it's $48,000 from 4 properties or whether it's $40,000, $50,000 from one flip. We do a couple of those flips, we do a couple of those wholesales, and then we take that cash that we didn't have before, that profit that we made, and then we go pay cash for properties that we're then going to hang on to. What would it look like for you if you were renting a property out for $1,200 a month and you had no mortgage on it? You could last, right? What happens if you put somebody in a property for $1,200 a month, you don't have a mortgage, and they don't pay, and you've got to pay an eviction attorney to get them out? At least you're not having to eat a mortgage payment every month, right? When we own houses free and clear from day one, all right, we're taking our profits from the flips, we're taking our profits from the wholesales to pay cash for properties that we own free and clear, right? Your buddies, your other local investors, they're making $300, $400 a month on their properties. You're starting off day one making $1,200 because you don't have a mortgage. So that means we don't need as many properties. It doesn't require as much work. There's a whole lot less risk. So if I was you, knowing what I know now, right? I've did it a lot of wrong ways. I did Section 8 rentals. I did traditional rentals. I've done flips. I've done wholesales. I would learn how to flip and I would learn how to wholesale. And then I would take my profits and I would pay cash for real estate that I'm going to hang on to. And then I'd go flip and wholesale some more. And I would go pay cash for another house. And I would flip and wholesale some more. And I would go pay cash for another house. So we take our flips, we take our wholesales, we take our profits from those properties. We don't upgrade our lifestyle, right? I buy most of my clothes from Walmart. All right, now, my jeans that I wear every day, my shoes. I'm not trying to impress anybody. I drive a used Ford F-150. Okay, I like it. It's the best truck I've ever had. I'm not driving a Range Rover. I'm not driving $100,000 car. I'm taking my profits and I'm paying off houses and I own them day one free and clear. And in 2024, I did enough flips that I paid cash for 3 houses. And you could too. I'd love to show you how. If you're interested in seeing what that online course looks like, I have an online recorded course that's cheaper that you can hop into. You can sign into it, go through it at your own pace. I also have a online community where you get that course and we get a weekly coaching call together every single Tuesday to help you along the way. I want to help you get there. That's what I personally believe in. Others may disagree, but I think as a newbie, you need to win early, you need to win guaranteed, and then when you win, you need to know what to do with that money. Okay? That's what I believe in. That's where I think you should get started. I wish I would have known this sooner. You get the benefit of learning this right away. If you haven't got started yet, there's no better time than now than to get started. And now that you've got a roadmap, you know what clarity, you've got clarity now. You know what winning looks like. You know what success looks like. You know what to work on and what to not work on. Let's go flip some houses. Let's go wholesale some houses. Let's do enough of those that we raise $50,000 to $100,000. Again, we take our profits. If you make $50,000 on 2 flips, you've got $100,000. Now go pay cash for a piece of real estate that's going to make thousands of dollars for you every year for the rest of your life. Right? And you're going to do it from day one, having no debt. Okay? This could happen for you in 2025, but it's not going to happen if you never take that step. So would love to talk to you about hopping in there. If you want to even hop in on one of our weekly calls that we do on Tuesday, I open that up to people that are kicking the tires. If you want to see what the thing looks like before you jump all in, I'm transparent. I'll give you access. I'll let you take a test drive for it. See if it's for you. If that's the route that you want to go, I would love to help you get there. I hope you guys crush your goals in 2025.